treated myself to uh, I treated myself to some Taco Bell as like a last hurrah. I deserve it. I thought I was gonna try to cut down on ordering out, prevent it, but also, you know. Hi, Stubby. Hi, Cat Wizard. Thanks for the Lipsy King. Welcome to Happy Wednesday. I hope today's been restful and productive for you. Pretty good for me in the overall, I'd say. As the stream title says, I got some stuff to do for shooting. So I'm going to launch right now. I am on a little bit of a time crunch today. Not like a horrible way, but I've already done most of my packing, so I mostly just need to bed. Thankfully, I don't have like a bed out there or anything tomorrow, so like I have time to wake up tomorrow, eat, all that other stuff without having to rush out of here. And I can aim for a time that will give me up that will also not mentally because no matter how much I sleep, I'm a person. So catching red eyes is really anxiety inducing and I hate it. I also forgot to move the microphone over here, so that's why. I think I can mix it down a little bit more, but I'm not sure how much lower I can push it without causing the whole thing to like stop going. Why was that all the way up there? That's silly. Anyway. Community Effort Orlando is Florida's biggest fighting game tournament. And has been for like a hot minute. So you're like, but Shootlanzer is not a fighting game. Why is it there? So Alex DeBailey. No, I'm not. So Alex DeBailey, who runs CEO, he has usually a corner of the floor called DeBailey Land, where he'll sit down and like have a couple of games running over there in that corner doing their thing, right? So Shootlanzer got accepted into there and going down to show. And for that reason, I'm not competing. Yes, Jabali as in Jabated. Yeah, that guy. I'm not competing because I want to make sure that, like, if I'm needed for something, I'm not like in pools or whatever. Thought about it, but I'm like, I don't know if I feel comfortable. If they had more people, I might have considered it, but I was like, it's only three of us going, so I'm like, best to minimize temptation. Okay, cool. So the major thing that I want to cover let's get over to the HUD and do something cool. One, two, 5, 6, 10. Go. Nope. 20. Okay, good. 30, then 40, then 50. That's right, everybody. Take a look. We've got new icons for our spread pickups. I'm very happy about this. First thing we're going to do is make sure that we loaded this up so that we have that nice and done. Okay. And I just need to come back over here to the actual this, rebuild it. Now, handled. Now let's go test this on a random stage. Okay, good. All that works. I just need to fix the pickups now.
Power tank!
Yep. So the main thing I have to fix here is that when the sprite sheet that you see over here in this corner, when this sprite sheet got updated, so initially it used to stop like right here, right? Like right here. But now, with the addition of the single, double, and triples, the vertical frames have doubled from 6 to 12. So all I really have to do now is go to the power and speed power-ups and just adjust the V-frames over here. And then slightly adjust to make sure the animations are adjusted. Hey, Anomaly. Things are going pretty good, actually. That's good. I just need this one, 5, 12, and then we just need to swap this out. Animation player. Should start 30, right? Nope, 40. Wrong one. So start this one at 40. Scrub it. Come back over to the sprite 2D. Yes. Set frames at 10 FPS. Okay. Sprite 2D. 40. Oh, hang on, I gotta get rid of the other ones because otherwise it's gonna get real ugly. Animation player. Cool. Sprite there. 40. Good. There we go. I adjust it over here also because it looks like some of these didn't adjustments on the material just to be sure. Or I could go back over here and just clicking off this one. It should propagate through to the others, so I don't have to tweak that as much. Good. Power speed double. Cool. Triple isn't in the game yet, but I'm doing it now so I don't have to worry about it later. The enemy type that drops triple shots does not currently exist in the game, but I'm just getting it out of the way now so I don't have to worry about it later. This is 5, this is 12, 30, 40, 50 is the frame. Now we need to swap this out for this one. Good. Animation player. What are the animations called? Okay. Here, animation new. Triple. How are you, Anomaly? Hopefully well. Animation. 10 FPS. Mark this as 7 frames. Over here. 50. Don't forget reset track. Damn it. Out. Try this again. There we go. Good. So that one should be covered. Double should be covered. We don't need one for single because it doesn't work that way. Speed, cool. Power, good. Okay, so the power-ups should be taken care of as far as how they display there and how... Oh, wait, one other thing. I gotta go to the pop-up and make sure that I do this correctly. Power-up sprite should now be 12. This one. We don't have that one yet. So you are 50. Oops. No, still that. You're 50. You're 40. You're 50. Those are... Oh. I guess I could load a different UI texture for that. Nah, this works right now. I'm not... Don't... Not going to reinvent the wheel, but I'm on... Not going to reinvent the wheel when I'm on time crunch. I'll leave those for right now, let those be the single frame and not mess with that. Deal with that later. Okay. Normal power, single, double, triple are all there. Those parts are figured out. There are other adjustments that I want to make to the HUD that I have to wait for other people to like touch up certain things before I can do that. Yep, so those are fine so far as I can tell. Okay, so excuse me. I'm looking over what other things I have I can sit down. Oh, right, that's the other thing I should try to do to see if this will help sort out the thing. Huh. I could have sworn. Okay, those are all set. Because for whatever reason, there we go. So the thing I did there, as a fun fact, not every text editor can do this, but a lot of them can. If you hold down the Alt key on your keyboard and then drag, you can not only can you select, like, normally, right, when you click and drag on text, it will grab old things like this, right? Hold down the Alt key, you can limit it so that you get direct. You limit it so that you can also drag downward without getting the rest of the line. It can be useful for things like that, like where I just changed both of those arcade buttons references to this instead. Very helpful. Pop-ups should be fixed on that front. So that bombing. It's because we were having an issue with the arcade buttons thing in somebody else's build. So I'm attempting to see if removing all of this will make that stop happening. Possibly not, because there's a very good chance that that it could just be something else that's related to the build being the build. But so y'all may notice that, like, there is a thing that Visual Studio is doing, where it was actually suggesting a direct replacement for the thing I wanted, and it actually had it correct. Sorry, this is on my mind because if you follow me on Blue Sky, you know that I make a habit out of what's the word I'm looking for? Right. One of the things that kind of like sits with me a lot in terms of the whole generative AI conversation and everything, right? Like, it's one thing if you have something like IntelliSense or whatever is going on here, making suggestions that are actually in line with the thing that I want, right? I'm measuring my words here very carefully because I want to be sure that I don't say something about a certain thing that I experienced recently that I shouldn't say. But right here is sort of like where I sit on that whole thing. And here's where I'm like particularly in standing for me. It's one thing if, like, you're typing a thing, and Visual Studio notices, hey, I noticed that you've been replacing a lot of this with this lately. Is this what you want everywhere? Anytime you go to this thing again, you have a case-by-case option for deciding whether or not you want to take that thing. This is fine. I have no issues with this kind of thing, right? Like, there have been times where that's been convenient, or when it's been like, oh, I saw you name this variable this, you're making another variable of the same type. You want it to be named this, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's helpful, right? And there are some times where it's like, no, I don't need it like that, you can stop. That is one thing, right? But then you have people that say things like, yeah, we want to be able to leverage like crypto and generative AI and like ChatGPT and stuff like that, blah blah vibe coding and blah blah, get you past all the boring parts so you can focus on the fun parts. And it's like, no. The important thing about like creating stuff is that there are aspects of it that are quote unquote drudgery in some aspects, right? Where it's like, right, I'm doing this thing and it's very tedious that I have to sit down and like do each of these steps like this, right? But sometimes the whole thing about something being tedious, the point of that tedium is to essentially like remind you to sort of like be in the moment of the thing that you're making, right? Oh, I had two of these open. This is bad. I have to remember which one I was working. It was not this one. But yeah, like the thing is that, and that's something that like a lot of like tech bros, like a lot of tech bros always enter into this conversation and seem to miss this point. Um, and it's something I think that probably speaks a lot more to the way that like certain parties think about art and the way that like what art is for and what its purpose sort of is, right? Because you have tech bros who will kind of like look you in the face and say, unironically, stuff like, yeah, you know, we want to be able to use all of these as my mother would put it, or as you know, people from Jamaica would put it, damn teeth. These damn teeth machines here, right? A lot of these people look at the concept of like having to sit down and actively sort of like think about the way that that these things work. They sit down and think about the way that these things work, and they think, oh yeah, clearly people just want to get past all of the boring tedium of X, Y, Z, A, B, C very clearly. So let's just do a thing that jumps them past that. And it's like, y'all don't understand that in so many words, like I was saying just a second ago before I got distracted, the tedium is the point, right? Like the tedium is the point. And I don't mean that in the sense of like, oh, let's make things boring on purpose just because like that's quote unquote the way that it should be. What I mean is that in a very literal sense, right? The tedium of doing very specific things, the whole purpose of that tedium is like I was just saying, the point of the tedium is to ground you in the moment of what you're doing, right? Sort of force you to like stop and actively engage with the essentiality of what thing you have sat down to think about, what thing you have sat down to do, right? And the reason there are a bunch of studies about it now about how generative AI and all this other stuff like is actively causing brain drain in terms of like people's ability to like think about, reason, and process, and just generally do things, right? Because you're not flexing your own, you're not flexing your own mental muscles, so they're starting to act, right? That's kind of the whole point. Like in ways that are not like just haha boomer propaganda, right? About how, you know, the machines are ruining your brain, etc. No, like using stuff like generative AI and like large language models and stuff like that is actively like causing a sort of like is actively causing a decline in like reasoning and all other sorts of like related skills to, hey, I need to be able to do this thing, right? Like that's real. And the reason for it is because of the disconnect that it causes with that tedium, right? And so what happens is that people fall into this trap of thinking that the machine, right, that very clearly they should really just like leave the thinking to the machine because the machine is smarter than me. It's like, no, it's not, right? That's not the way that this works. It's not the way that any of this works. And you should not be willing to turn over the central reasoning of your reasoning to something like this so easily. It's not a thing that's a precious thing, right? Like actually having the ability to actively dictate, right, the way that you think, what thoughts that you have, the way that you create and do creative things. That's a very precious thing, right? That's something that belongs very deeply and very intimately to you in ways that you should be very intent about protecting, right? And so, like, and I know this argument doesn't really work on people who only think about these things in terms of like business and productivity. I know it doesn't, but I'm not saying it for them. I'm saying it for the people who are willing to listen on that, who are willing to like consider things aside. Like, the reason why people make stuff is not always for productivity. And so the tedium, right? The tedium of the 1,000 little things that you do in the process of making art. Like, for example, if you're a writer and you have writer's block and you're like, damn, I really hate having writer's block. No, the answer is not to ask ChatGPT to get you unstuck. Sit in the block, you go out, you walk, you live your life in other aspects, you do other things with your time, and then what winds up happening is that in the process of living your life, having some liberty, what winds up ultimately freeing you is that going out and like being away from the particular thing and just doing your thing winds up eventually shaking the cobwebs loose, Because what winds up happening is, in the process of going out, living your life, doing all the things that like involve having liberty, the experiences pour into you. The experiences pour into you. And then that informs something that you may not have been able to figure out with the work up until that point. And right? And sometimes also it's not that romantic, and sometimes you're just stuck and it's a pain in the ass and you hate it. But like that happens sometimes. And that's okay. There are so many ways in which I cannot describe there's so many ways in which I cannot describe the fact that like that's okay. Right? Like that is literally okay. It happens sometimes, right? Where you get stuck and it's really annoying and you're just what a pain, right? But it's just part of the process. It's part of what happens. Like sometimes people get stuck. Sometimes you want to write something and it's like it just doesn't come to you. Like and it's frustrating, it's annoying, and you're annoyed about it. But by the same token, right? Again, sometimes it's just what the process is. And it doesn't mean that you're a bad writer because you got stuck. It doesn't mean that, woe is you, you're not fit to do whatever. No, it happens sometimes. And you have to be okay with it. Or, right, as an example, KT, you see the shine and the sheen that comes across the normal and the single shots and stuff like that, right? KT animated those by hand. And very specifically, what she explained about why she did that in a stream that she did recently, she was like, yeah, it may be a little bit more tedious and everything, but the point is that like this is part of a skill set that I wanted to learn. So I'm not going to view it as an inconvenience, right? Hang on. I'm going to embed this so it's a little bit easier to see. KT's whole thing was, I'm not going to treat this as some sort of inconvenience. I'm not going to treat this as some form of inconvenience. HUD, please. What did you do? HUD connect to player. Oh. Did I accidentally get rid of the purge meter container? I might have. Hold on a second. HUD. Oh yeah, it's having a hard time now. I forgot that I did that. So, my bad. I forgot that this is the whole thing I did. So now it's getting upsetty because I forgot about that. But yeah, like she was very explicitly like, yeah, sometimes the point of doing this particular thing is that, yeah, is it more tedious? Yes. Right? Is it more tedious? Yes. But it is in the doing of it, like when we sit down and like just do the thing, I am learning a new skill that I wanted to learn. I am understanding how to do this specific thing better. And that's the point. That's the point of the tedium. That's the point of the stuff that like feels like it doesn't have a point. That's the point. It's to give yourself time to like learn how to do something. It's to give yourself an opportunity to ground yourself in. Oh, hold on, y'all can't see it. Like the whole point is that it's an opportunity to ground yourself in the things that kind of make up the subtleties of the craft, right? It's like that weight room analogy. The weights don't need to move from one place to another. That's not the work. The work is what happens with you to grow those muscles. Exactly, right? It's about, exactly, also high shark. That's literally the perfect way to put it. I could not have thought of any better way to put it myself. Hang on, I'm gonna hide this window real quick so that in case I accidentally brush over something while I fix it, y'all don't see the wrong one. Just have to make sure that we don't run into any issues. There we go. But yeah, no, that's exactly it, Shark. It is literally that, like the work. Yeah, the work is not about. One thing I want to do. I'm going to reduce the speed a little bit. Because yeah, like it's all about the muscle that you're building up, metaphorically, right? Okay, good. One thing I need to slow down the stage 2 boss a little because I didn't realize that they were already stage 2 boss was already at like a hard speed reduction, so I need to do this thing. But yeah, like that's the whole thing, right? And that's something that like corporate that like really like corporate that corporate a lot of like super MBA, super corporate, super productivity types don't really understand that. MBAs or MLMs, yeah, that's also an entirely fair way to put it. But yeah, like a lot of these really excessively corporate types kind of don't really get that, like, the whole point of yeah, that's this is the right speed. But yeah, that's what like a lot of like the super corpo types sort of like don't understand in the whole discussion is that it's like the thing about art is that it's not oh, I've been working without this particular thing. But yeah, like for me in particular, yeah, you can't rush art. Yeah, exactly, right? And it's very much one of those things where like yeah, like you can't rush art, right? And then just aside from that, sometimes, right? Like the productivity is not the point. You know what I mean? Where it's like sometimes the point of doing the thing is to have done the thing, uh, and not so much that it's like, oh, yeah, now this is some great commercial. This is some great commercial work. There's nothing wrong with that, to be clear, right? Like if you're like, I want to make something that like is commercially successful, will touch people. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, right? If you want to do that, but I'm also saying that there is a perspective that, in order to, at least from my opinion, in order to make the thing feel like there's something at its core, you also have to be doing it because how do I put it? It's as much a matter of climbing the mountain because it's there as it is because you have a particular need to reach the top of the mountain. You get what I mean? Doing the thing simply because you doing the thing simply because you um doing the thing simply because you enjoy doing it is entirely fair and valid, and there's nothing. And for me personally, I feel like it's one of the major sort of like touchstones that somebody should be aiming for when they're making a video game or any other kind of creative thing. Like, yeah, you want to finish it, you want to get the thing done, but like, to again, the thing that Shark was quoting, right? Yeah, climbing out because it's there and in the way where you want trying to go. Yeah, like it's okay to want to do that for both of those reasons, right? But for me personally, I happen to believe that you have to have both, especially in creative endeavors. You have to climb that mountain because it's in the way of it's in the way of where it is that you want to go, right? You have to want to climb it for that reason, but you also have to be willing to climb it because it's there, right? Like if you're not doing it also because it's there, because you want to like test yourself against it or whatever, then that one was important. I just needed to walk, which I was actually listening to what was being said. Damn it! And ads started. Okay, let's wait for ads to clear before I go back to seeing what I was gonna say. I'm waiting for the ads to finish before I get back to saying what I'm gonna say. Okay, cool. Ads are done. So the thing I'm doing right now, because I realized that I was working quietly and not actually explaining what I was doing, I'm moving around some of the excuse me. Sorry about that. That caught me off guard. I'm moving around some of the pointers and stuff to account for the new HUD that I'm working with. So the main HUD got adjusted from being mostly across the top to mostly along the bottom. So I'm making some adjustments to it. I'm making some adjustments to it so that like the pointers are more in line with the way that things should work. Like, for example, the spin meter is no longer up in this corner. It's down. It's way down over here in the other corner. So I should make sure that it's pointing to that. I don't know that number, so I'm not answering. I do not know anybody from that place. If it is important, they will leave me a message. That's not a number I recognize. Hold on, something is going on here with the HUD. It's making this a problem. The only tricky part about this is that it's a little bit hard for me to move some stuff around right now because yeah, the thing I was saying before is that it's a little bit tricky now because be careful about where I put some of this stuff so that I'm not like I have to be careful about where I put some of this stuff so I'm not overlapping certain bits of information. I may have to try a trick here. I may have to try a trick. This one. Is there a way for me to keep? Yeah, the key, the visibility is key. So let's just this one. Here, we want to leave this upper right. Bring this to there. That, and then once it's done this, then we want, once it's locked in here, then we want to make sure that visible text. We want to make sure that it pops in. At this point, by the time it reaches down here, it should yeah, I think if this is smaller, it will become easier to fit this in under here. I think what I'm going to attempt to do is just try to fit this in over here for right now and see if I can do a little trickery with this bit in order to make it work correctly. We'll have to see. Sometimes game dev is about pulling a couple of rabbits out of your hat Sometimes game dev is about pulling a couple rabbits out of your hat. Sometimes game dev is about pulling a couple rabbits out of your hat um, when you've got nothing to work with, but a bit of time and ingenuity, basically. I also got to make sure the position is locked in. Okay. Just make sure that this is invisible to start off with. This. Keyframe that position at the end. Here. This position here. Take this 5. That as well. Here, actually, make sure I on the keyframe position. This thing over here. Put down a keyframe. This. This. Hello, Wicked Delight. How are you doing? Welcome on into the stream. A pleasure to meet you. How are you doing? Hopefully well today. I'm doing pretty good. 15. This lines up. Do not want those to. Six. Here. Today. Yeah, you came by basically just in time to see me. I'm adjusting the HUD of our game to current. I'm adjusting the HUD of our game to match some of the changes that got made. Match some of the changes that got made. The tutorial itself has a bunch of prompts that kind of move into and out of position. So I'm moving and locking some of them into new places that are better reflective of the HUD that we have now. Is that Unity I'm working in? No, it's not. Also, hi Cosmo. Good to see you. But no, it is not Unity. This is Godot. Yep. It is essentially a open source engine that, yeah, yeah. Okay, you know about it. Yeah. Okay, you know about it. Then. My bad. Fair. Thought you hadn't heard of it. Yeah, Godot. It has C# support, which is the primary reason why I feel comfortable. I usually work in Unreal, but really been wanting to learn Godot for fun. Looks fast in the one. Yeah, like Godot is extremely flexible in terms of what it allows and how it does things. We switched over to Godot from Unity, and we had to sort of like switch projects because the project we wanted to do in Unity, we could do that in Unity because we'd known it well enough at the time. But with Godot, it's like we're starting from scratch. So like we should make something a little bit less like really highly scoped if we're gonna do that. And yeah, as it turns out, like yeah, Godot's fantastic. I haven't gotten to delve as much into a lot of its 3D support, but I haven't gotten to delve as much into its 3D support. But in a more general sense, yeah, in a more general sense, as far as like 2D stuff goes, it has been a fantastic time. Um, 1 second. I am taking a moment to sort of think through where this. I worked on Unity on 2D and 3D projects for 10 years, and I went under the last 8 behind Godot. Yeah, Godot. The thing that I think I enjoy the most about Godot is that, in a very general sense, right? In a very general sense, its animator is quite possibly one of the strongest, like, animators that I've seen. Like, all of these properties over here can be keyframed in an animator as part of an animation. It is much easier to do function calls. It is very easy to do function calls. It is very easy to do function calls and stuff from animations as well. It's really, really it's really, really flexible, and that's the part that we've been enjoying the most in working with it in the overall. I'm very happy that we made the switch, mostly because like Unity has been moving into that space of y'all really think you can do whatever for like a hot minute. And in fairness to them, it wasn't always that way, right? I acknowledge this. So I am not so entirely unaware of what I'm talking about when I say this, when I say that it wasn't like, I'm aware, right? It wasn't always like that. And there are parts of the way that Unity used to be that I miss a lot. But one of the things I think about a lot is that, essentially speaking, they got real used to being they got real used to being the ones that were they got real used to being the ones that got to drive the ship. And there are ways in which you can tell that that unassailability, as far as like, oh yeah, you know, if you're trying to get started and do a game in a game engine and you need something reliable, right? Like Unity, aside from rolling your own, was kind of like Unity, aside from rolling your own, was it for like a long while, right? And there's a certain level of again, this is not entirely the fault of the people that were like working there or anything, right? But there's this thing that happens. Oops, I didn't mean to hit that button. There's this thing that happens where, especially once like stakeholders start getting involved, you can't. I'm gonna put it like this: there is a certain amount of believing your own hype that you should absolutely go for, but it's one of those things where it's like, you know, Icarus and the sun. You know what I mean? You have to be careful about how much you start to buy into your own hype when it comes to certain things, because if you're not careful about it, right? And if there are levels to which you can buy into your own hype to the extent that you I left Unity to Unreal because I didn't like the direction of the Unity company myself. Yeah. And it became one of those things where like Unity in some aspects really started to like buy into its own hype. And it's like, y'all, I understand why, but then y'all started losing sight of what got you on top of the heap to begin with, right? Because it's easy, right? When you're on the throne uncontested, it's really easy to not think a lot about like, oh yeah, like why should we have to worry about that? I still pop in Unity like, yeah, right? And there are people who still choose to use Unity in spite of all that, and I don't fault them necessarily. I prefer Godot mostly because we were just like, for our team in particular, we were just like, we want to make sure that we are managing our independence personally is what's important to us, and making sure that our projects don't get jeopardized because, you know, like a suit got a bug in their mind that like, hey, this is the direction that's clearly going to work because, you know, everybody's doing it, right? It's like, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, yeah, everybody's doing it, but just because everybody's doing it doesn't mean that it is the thing that every project is going to want or every project is going to need, right? There's a certain level of actual creative understanding that you have to be operating from when you are making something for people who use it for creative purposes, right? Basically, what I'm saying is that Unity, once they started getting the wild hair in their brain that they really and truly needed to start like trying to chase like mobile bucks or whatever, that's when they got fucked up. That's the simplest way to put it. Because a lot of what began to happen is that they're like, not so much as like, oh, they never should have supported mobile. That's not what I'm talking about. But like a lot of the things that really began to get them messed up was thinking about like, how do we optimize this explicitly for just this sort of experience? How do we start like getting things, partnerships, and all this other stuff? They started focusing on a lot of like partnerships, acquisition of tools and tooling and etc. Not like actively focusing on developing their own tooling in house to the extent that like there's a reason why Unity sort of has a mimetic reputation for and there's a reason why Unity has a mimetic reputation for all intents and purposes, right? Like the only way to get Unity to like actually work past a certain point is that you just gotta like there's a reason why like yeah, the mimetic sort of like reputation of Unity is that you have to basically spend a fortune on you have to spend a fortune on plugins in order to get it to like actually function, because Unity itself has not like actively invested in a lot of the undergirdings of how it has not invested in the undergirdings of how its own engine works. And so tech debt is always a thing in game engines and other sorts of projects, right? Like, especially if you're working with programming, you're always going to have some degree of tech debt, right? But with Unity, it's one of those things where when you look at the engine, it really, 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 really like stacks up in terms of like there are a lot of features that they've been leaving undealt with and untouched and all of this other stuff, and that's a problem, right? And it's one of those things where because of that, right? And this is also an issue that I know that like this is something that I know this is something that I know is important insofar as wow, I completely lost my train of thought. That's annoying. Right. I think the thing I was trying to say is that by and large, one of the things that causes an issue for Unity is that you're paying out the nose for you're paying out the nose for a lot of add-ons, like a lot of like plugins and add-ons and stuff in order to like keep your shit from exploding, right? Because Unity isn't like undergirding the actual nuts and bolts of its engine, right? And that's a problem. That's not ideal. It's not great. It's not a situation you want to be in. And like Godot, at least so far, has had a better track record with like integrating features that people want, actually putting things on the roadmap and reaching them, right? Whereas one of the things that like winds up causing sort of fall off with an engine, especially, is if people are trying to use it and it's like, oh, dang, all of these years of like accumulated Hey Cal, hopefully you're doing well. Good to see you. But yeah, like, um, this thing trying to skip in, shower, get to the pharmacy before it closes. I believe. Go ahead. Just looking at what Godot assets are available on their site. Yeah. And Godot's asset store, I think, is probably still building up and getting robust because, more people are adopting Godot and the market share. Even saying it like that. I said the words market share and immediately my brain went, feels like NBA pill. Would you like a spot of video game related good news? I was looking at Gilded a second ago. I saw about the tentative agreement being reached by Game Workers Union, I think, or no, SAG-AFTRA. Sorry, my brain is having a fart. It's the voice acting, so SAG-AFTRA. I saw that. Yes. Why are you looking at Gilded while streaming? Because I can. I'm grown. I can do what I want. Also, it might have been doing an ad break. So, anyway, yeah. Wow, they have a lot more than I remember when I looked at Godot last year. Yeah, Wicked Delight. The thing is that, like, when Unity shat the bed and people started moving. I want to say, like, Godot has had C# support for a while now, and that's when I personally became more interested in it. But like right around the time that Unity, right around the time that like Unity like hard shat the bed in terms of like the licensing thing, yeah, a lot of people started like shuffling over to Godot, and I think that it just so happened that Godot was already kind of in a position where they were starting to already sort of get their feet on them. So database add-ons also. Yeah. So like basically quite literally Unity set themselves up for that. They didn't realize it, probably. They couldn't have known. But yeah, like Godot was basically right in the position to pop off. I don't remember if Godot has C++ support yet for a programming language, but right now they support their own internal GD script, which is a lot more like Python. I know C# for a fact. I think they also have a node-based programming support in here. I just don't remember what it is, if so. There's a couple hundred now. Man, that's wild. I think when I looked, they maybe had like 20. Yeah, like I said, they popped off. They popped off really, really hard once, like literally because Unity shat the bed, right? So literally that one meme where it's like the person is bicycling and they jam a stick. Wasn't the Unity? Yeah. Yeah. Riccatello, that man is I'm just gonna leave it at that. That man is But that's the kind of thing I mean, right? Like he was not thinking about like the actual like people who are using Unity for the very specific things that they do when he was making that decision. So yeah, he was thinking about microtransactions and all this stuff that's just about like profit up, right? Microtransactions were one of the worst things that happened to video games the last 20 years, IMO. Yeah. I don't even know if that's how it actually is. That's just hyperbole. One of the things that Riccatello was very intent on was a lot of that. Like, that's the reason why the Unity. Yeah. When they pushed for a runtime fee, a bunch of indie teams I helped over the years all reached out, and a couple of them actually asked me to help them move over to Unreal. So, yeah. So, the thing about it, Stubby, is that, like, that situation that Wicked the Light just described, that's basically what was happening, right? The licensing thing, especially, was basically just the joke that Wicked the Light made, except made writ large. Because basically, the whole point was that, like, again, Riccatello was thinking about it from the perspective of how do I make this make money the way the EA made money? Clearly, the solution is that we got to squeeze as much money per hit as we can out of somebody, right? And if that somebody is not going to be the people that are playing the games, in the case of Unity, then it's going to be the people who are using Unity in and of itself. That's how you can tell that, like, NBA MTX Brain had him poisoned up. Also, thank you for the person who followed. We keep our follow alerts anonymous so that people can follow and lurk if they feel free to. I deeply appreciate it. Thank you for the follow. But yeah, like, it's one of those things where the absolute, like, the absolute state of that's the kind of shit, and even from, like, another perspective, right? Um, like I said, the issue I was talking about earlier with, like, a lot of the plugin issues, much the same way, right? Where, like, a lot of very basic, like, for a long time, basically the best, and maybe it's still this way now, the best hot swap plug and play multiplayer, local multiplayer, um, control determination, um, setups that you can have in Unreal, and not in Unreal, in Unity, comes from a third party plugin called Rewired. And Rewired is like some 40, 50, $60. Pizza Delivered was away for a minute. Piece of good. Yeah, a bunch of people moved off Unity weeks after. Yeah, we were one of them. Like, Munity, which is the game dev company I helped co-found. Yeah, we were not making shootlanzer. Thank you, Cal. But yeah, like shootlanzer. Um, yeah, like shootlancer was not the project that we were making in Unity initially. We weren't doing that, right? Um, thank you. We were making something else in Unity, something a little more complicated because we know Unity well enough to be like, right, we can do all these systems, do all this stuff. We are doing shootlancer partially because when we were trying to search for what engine we wanted to switch to as an alternative, I picked Godot and I dug up shootlancer out of like my back pocket of projects I had in the back pocket as just like experiments and said, what if I try this, right? Um, Explicitly because not that a shmup is necessarily intrinsically simple to make, but that there are a lot less variables to juggle than oh right, we're doing like an action like a 3D action game where we have to like consider the fact that we're working with an isometric camera and all this other there's a lot of shit that goes into doing that, right? So coming to Godot and like focusing on stuff in 2D makes it a lot easier to sort of just be like, right, we can narrow in on this, focus in on this, knock this stuff out, and good to go, right? That was very much kind of like the position that we were coming from my general understanding, right? Whereas, like, yeah, really, ideally, we want to just kind of do it like this. But yeah, we were one of them. We moved off of and away from Unity after the runtime fee went up. Once we'd heard about that, we're like, no, we're not doing this. Jesus, we're out. Bye. So yeah, that was us. We were there on that front. We were just like, no, we're not doing this. Forget it. They lost us. Um, oh, pardon me. You're not a fan of Mister? Nope, not even a little. Not even a little. Um, like it's one of those things where he left the company, but the damage is done. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? And now, at least from people that I know in the industry that went to like even Unreal's state of Unreal, where it sounds like Unreal is starting to like two things. One, they were already leaning for the past couple of years in the direction of the less Fortnite shaped your game is, the more difficult it is to get done. There's that. And if what I heard about the state of Unreal press thing that they did recently is of any accuracy, where it sounds like they're starting to sniff around like Gen AI nonsense a lot more heavily. Um, mm, mm, or like either Gen AI or like LLM nonsense, whichever one of those two. Yeah, it's the culture there now at Unity with the decision makers. Yeah, like Riccatello. Yeah. Um, as far as Unity goes, Riccatello's poisoned that well very deeply. They have to basically probably throw out um, the entirety of that C-suite. At least in my mind. I could be wrong about that, but like it's a thing where they'd have to throw out the entirety of that C-suite and start from the top again in order to get some of like the institutional rot out. Positive news, I finished my G Plus project. It was originally envisioned as one shot, 2 minutes 5, but I'm done. We take those. We take those. Drop it in when your DM says shit so you can look it over before I post it anywhere. Yeah. I may have a thing right after stream, so it might take me a minute. Um, it might take me a minute to go look immediately after stream is over, but yeah. But yeah. So tried what's called a quote unquote garbage pizza from a place in Chicago. Deep dish. Wow, it's cool. Wow, it's huge. A friend recommended it. Yeah. Um, and then of course in New York City we have like the really big pizza. The sides are like wild. Yeah. And then here in New York, of course, we have like the really big, really thin pizzas. Um, which are pretty good. I like those. Hang on. I got into a discussion with somebody about a thing. Um, Hang on. Slice is so thick, the bread alone passes like one slice of meat onto itself. But is it a good pizza? That's the real. That's the real thing, right? Anyway, that discussion is going on in this spot. I should pay attention to what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm doing good, Jensuga. Good to see you, as always. Okay, sorry about that. I got caught up in a discussion. I got distracted again. Sometimes I think to myself that I should probably have Discord closed while I'm streaming, except for the parts where like people will communicate stuff to me. I am streaming using Discord, so I have to keep it open, and then I get distracted looking at other stuff, trying to sort stuff out. Okay, so I think at this point, mostly I've sorted out a lot of the things that I wanted to. Actually, I have one thing I want to do. Let's. Damn it! It's another ad. Okay, I think there's one thing I want to kind of like poke around at, so I'm gonna just do that quick. For those of you that aren't in ad hell, I saw the thing. I saw the thing that I was sent, and it looks amazing. I'm very, very happy. But let's see. Okay, ad breaks there. Yeah, yeah. No, that's exactly what happened. I went to go look, and I immediately. Yeah, I went to go look, and I immediately went, "Oh, oh, these are good. Oh, these are good. These are good." And that's so my brain immediately went like well off course. It was like, "Oh wow, damn, those are good." Am I? No, I shouldn't be. My microphone is picking it up just fine. Are you sure? I went to go look. I literally stopped when you're like you're muted. I'm like, wait, let me go look at my. Yeah. Is it possible that your Twitch, whatever you're watching Twitch on, might have accidentally muted Twitch itself? Because sometimes that happens for no reason. Because Twitch is a website that does things and functions correctly. Welcome back. I think I'm at the limit of the things that I planned on doing. Um, because there are certain aspects of this. Yeah, I can hear you. Excellent. There are certain aspects of what I was working on with shootlanzer that are also just dependent on a couple more changes to the UI. And I know that those changes are being worked on, but I can't do anything. I can't tweak much more without having those handled. Let me double check and make sure that this thing I just did works correctly. Hey, Big Dad, how you doing? Okay, good. My amazing genius idea actually worked. Yeah, we're coming up on the end of it almost because I have not like a super hard tight deadline, but I did want to like make sure I stop roughly on time tonight rather than going over. Okay. We can adjust where the bomb count one shows up, I think. This one. Oh yeah, why isn't that text appearing? Okay, then you know what? We can... I don't know why that text isn't appearing. That's weirding me out and getting on my nerves. Hold on a second. I want to see something. I realized that that text has been missing for like a minute and I haven't actually sorted out why that's the case. It's weird. Getting on my nerves. It's supposed to say bombs right above the box where the bombs are, and for some reason, that's not showing up. Which means I need to go open up the HUD and go figure it out. That's been why the whole time. I literally had... That's so annoying. I feel so silly. It's literally because I had the label for the... I'm so annoyed. I accidentally hit the label for the bombs this whole time. It was just hidden and I forgot to unhide it. That's so annoying. I'm so annoyed by that. How did I miss that? What? Ah, man. I'm a mess. Alright. Okay. I think I've just about got it. Because this new HUD that you see, where everything is kind of like mostly stacked on the left, that's new. It used to be spread out across like the top of the screen primarily. But there's some more adjustments that need to happen to it so that it gets a little smaller, otherwise gets a bit rearranged. But that second version, I'm probably not going to get until later tonight, so I can't really mess with it too tough. Oh right, that's the other thing I need to do. It's not glowing for some reason down there, so I need to fix that. Okay, excellent. Okay, cool. That's good. All right. That's good. Okay. That's good. Right. I need to get the actual sprite to do glowing things. So over here in the HUD script, I gotta adjust one thing real quick because it looks like it's not. I know why it's not. I just need to adjust it, I think. So outline color, flickering speed, width. Okay. So flickering speed is not changing for some reason, and that's an issue. Let me come over here real quick. Oh, what's CEO mean? Oh, so CEO is Community Effort Orlando. It is a fighting game tournament that oh, I gotta change this too. It's a fighting game tournament that happens in Orlando, as it says. Gonna bounce here to go hang some other friends. Catch you later. Thanks for streaming. Have fun to see you. That's the plan. So shootlanzer is obviously not a fighting game, but Alex Jabali, the guy who runs it, who is this guy, that's his face. Alex Jabali is the guy that like basically came up with the well, as far as I remember, at least he currently runs it. I'm pretty sure he also came up with it initially. He likes to have a little corner where there are a bunch of indie games. Now he wants to run it as like a 24-hour thing. Our game, we entered it into consideration for that, and that's what wound up happening as far as that goes. This is what I need. This is what I need to fix in order to make this work correctly. This should fix that now. I realized that I didn't account for all of that in the middle of that. Yeah, so I fly out tomorrow afternoon, and CEO is basically all the rest of this weekend. So I'm getting this stuff done so I can like do a push I can do a push over at everybody else, and we can like kind of go from there. Um, It's way tougher to bomb now. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna tweak one last thing in the HUD, and then I think we call it there. Is the plan? Okay. Um, and I think we want to switch the order of these two. Yeah, this is much better. Margin container. Run timers. We want these to come over here to the left. I think that's better. And then even if we switch the order, yeah, I think this is better. I'm gonna sit to the right. HBox container theme, nope, theme overrides constants separate. And then the HBox container theme, nope, theme overrides constants separate. And then the HBox container theme, nope, theme overrides constants separate. And then the HBox container theme, nope, theme overrides constants separate. And then the HBox container theme, nope, theme overrides constants separate. And then the HBox container theme, nope, theme overrides constants separate. And then the HBox container theme, nope, theme overrides constants separate. And then the HBox container theme, nope, theme overrides constants separate. And then the HBox container theme, nope, theme overrides constants separate. And then the HBox container theme, nope, theme overrides constants separate. And then the HBox container theme, nope, theme overrides constants separate. And then the HBox container theme, nope, theme overrides constants separate. And then the HBox container theme, nope, theme overrides constants separate. And then the HBox container theme, nope, theme overrides constants separate. And then Yeah, there we go. All right, yeah, this is good, I think. We're gonna take a stage 2 boss. Not sure speed down just a little bit. All right, y'all. I think I'm gonna hold it there. There's some other work I have to do off stream for it, um, but those sprites haven't come in yet. Capcom was founded on this day 42 years ago. Damn. 2005 was 20 years ago. 1985 was 40. So yeah, founded in 1983. Ooh. Yeah, I just felt my back pop. All right, y'all. Let's get up out of here. Thank y'all for coming by. As Stubby has implied, we do not have. So, for people who are new here and who don't normally know my stream schedule, normally I stream Wednesdays, game dev stuff, Fridays, fighting games, Sundays, usually JRPGs, but sometimes just other one off games. I'm going to be at TO for the rest of the week, going into next Monday. Like, next Monday is when I fly back. So, there's no stream on Wednesday, there's no stream on Friday, and there's no stream on Sunday. But in a week from now, next Wednesday, we're back here with more shootlanzer stuff. If you like game dev stuff, Wednesdays are the days you'll want to come by on Wednesday. That's it. That's the tweet. Links. Sometimes I write stuff on my NeoCities blog. It's been a little while. It's a little bit hard for me to get stuff going on there. I have to take time like format the post and everything. So I'm overdue for one. I will probably write one up at some point. It's overdue. Maybe about Elena in Street Fighter 6 once I have a little more time with her, sort of like sort that out. Stream VODs are up on my YouTube. Ko-Fi, if you want to support me in this stream and don't want to give money to Amazon or Jeff Bezos, a Ko-Fi sub monthly is preferred over a Twitch sub. I get Ko-Fi money more immediately with a much smaller cut from Ko-Fi's end. My phone has the ability to like do anonymous gift giving for me if you feel so inclined to support the stream that way. And then my card has all my other social media links, but really I'm most active here and on Blue Sky. It's primarily it. Right? That's pretty much the thing. If you want to know more about Munity, which is the indie game studio that I helped co-found that is making shootlanzer, go to munity.games. That's us. Our Patreon is available if you want to support us. If you want to join the Patreon for free, you can do that. If you want to join paid to help support us further, you can also do that. That is also an alternative if you want to make sure that you are kind of like boosting up all of us, right? If that's your thing. Since I was talking a bunch about like yeah, you know, it's important that like you really put your back into your art and everything. Yeah, like you want to help supporting people like us is the way that you do that. That's my thing, personally, right? And then if you want to play a prototype of shootlanzer, it's a little bit behind. Right? But it's still a pretty good example of what it is that we're looking to do. I think that the version up there might be the last, um, one where we had turning, but I forget. And then last but not least, if you want to join us when we're not streaming, Gilded is the spot for that. I don't have a Discord because for all that I still use Discord as I need to, Discord itself as a program is sometimes booty butt cheeks and it gets on my nerves. And there are a lot of features that Gilded does for free. There are a lot of a lot of features that Gilded does for free that Discord makes you pay for Nitro to use. The flip side is that you do have to have a Roblox account to use Gilded, and I understand if that is a turnoff for people completely. I am not upset about that, and if you're like, I don't want to I don't want to fuck with that, I get it. So entirely your fault. I'm gonna find us somebody to raid. I'm gonna find us somebody to raid real quick. Give me a minute. I'm gonna go dig up somebody who we haven't gone to visit in a minute if they're around. Not Dave, because I think we've been. Who have we been to see? I don't want to double up. We went to see Dave the other day. We went to go see Judo, your comments. Other day. Right? 4th. Was it the 6th? And I don't remember if we went to go see it. It wasn't G. Oh, it was Silverstone. Okay. So let's see who we're gonna go. Never mind. It looks like at some point Pleasantly Twisted did in fact come back into rotation. So we're gonna go hang out with Pleasantly Twisted. They're playing Rune Factory Guardians of Ozma, which is already immediately drawing my interest because it looks like an action RPG, and I like those. Pleasantly Twisted is also currently raising funds for Doctors Without Borders for as a pre-run up to Games Done Quick. So I feel that it is appropriate, if you can, in fact, donate, please do. Support that. They are Doctors Without Borders is or is it Medicine Sans Frontiers, I think is the other name for it. They're basically trying to make sure that they put up that good money to make sure that people who need that support internationally, medically, get it. So if you can donate, please do. Thank y'all for coming by. I'll see y'all next week, Wednesday. Till then, stay safe, wash your hands, wear masks, don't go outside if you don't have to, be excellent to each other. Not to bigots, racist, turfs, sexists, or anti-queer folks. Or fascists. Black Lives Matter, trans rights are human rights, reproductive rights are human rights. Palestine, Sudan, Congo, New Caledonia, Haiti must all be free. None of us are free till we're all free. Take care of each other. You don't have to do big stuff. You don't have to put your business out on the street to do that. Look about what you can. look after the people in your sphere, look after the people outside of your sphere that you can afford to, and kind of keep it all going. You hear? All right, y'all. That's all I got. Enjoy the time with Twisted. Behave. Don't be weird. This is a raid message before I forget. Hitachi shows raids. Throw in your favorite emotes. They can be my emotes. They can be whatever other emotes. Keep it appropriate. Don't be weird to them. I have a sword in there. If you're weird and I see you being weird in there, it's going to be fighting words. So don't do that. Just be chill. Have yourselves a good time. All right, y'all. Thanks for stopping by. I'll catch you when I catch you. Deuces. Next Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time.